It's where astronauts and presidents, movie scenes, and mega-sized treats all come together to delight us and to make us wonder, how did they do that? Come with us as we take a trip into the cooler and through the years. It's a very special look at the butter sculptures at the Ohio State Fair. The Dairy Products Building is home to one of the oldest and most beloved traditions at the Ohio State Fair. The world-famous butter cow and calf are must-sees for fairgoers of all ages. Generations of families have shared in the whimsical delight and amazing artistry of this Ohio landmark, presented proudly by the American Dairy Association Mideast. It's a tradition that goes back over a century.
We know that it dates back as early as the very beginning of the 1900s. And then in the 1920s, the butter cow found a permanent home in the Dairy Products Building, and the calf followed. It was in the 60s that we started to add additional themes and additional sculptures to the display.
These themes have honored heroes and holidays, childhood memories, and Ohio's homegrown brilliance.
Well, every year it's a real challenge to try to select just the right featured sculpture to go along with the butter cow and butter calf. It's challenging, but it's fun.
The vision and talent of many artists have helped to create years and years of amazing butter displays, taking this humble ingredient from the butter dish to center stage.
So when I began with the Dairy Association, there was a gentleman named Dan Ross, and he sculpted the cow at the State Fair for 36 years. Then following Dan was a gentleman named Bob Kling, and he had a crew of folks that he worked with, artists that he had worked with previously from Hasbro. Two of those sculptors, Paul Brook and Alex Balls, were on that original team with Bob. And when Bob decided to step down, Paul and Alex stepped up to lead the team.
It takes amazing skill, a steady hand, over a ton of butter, and one very large cooler to create the butter display at the Ohio State Fair.
To think about 2,000 pounds of butter being turned into a masterpiece, to a work of art, it truly is inspiring.
Well, we learned the hard way that cold butter is hard to sculpt, and so every year we have the butter delivered before we get there, a couple days to sit and become room temperature, and the butter becomes very soft. You can just scoop up a big handful, 5 pounds of butter, and put it on the armature.
So we start out with 55-pound blocks of unsalted butter, and when the butter starts to go into the cooler and it's layered onto the armatures, sometimes I always think, gosh, what the heck is it gonna be?
But once it's cooled, it becomes pretty hard, just like a stick of butter out of your cold fridge. You can carve into it and get pretty detailed.
In recent years, the team of artists creating the butter display have come from all around the state, reuniting each summer to churn out the magic.
Alex Baltz and I have done it every year since 2000. And along the way, we picked up Tammy and Aaron. One of our best sculptors is Matt Davidson, who's actually an Ohio dairy farmer. And he helps a lot with the cow because he works with cows every day of his life. So he's the cow guy.
The display takes about 400 hours of sculpting inside the 46-degree cooler.
So, ladies and gentlemen, the butter sculpture unveiling is official.
That opening day, having the butter sculpture displayed gives people a great deal of excitement and satisfaction. And keeping it top secret is always fun for the Dairy Association. And I really give my team a lot of credit for being able to keep it under wraps.
The whole time we're working on it, we have to sometimes block the doors and windows of the building because people are trying to get in there and see what we're doing.
While most of the time the themes are very home to Ohio, they get coverage nationwide and even worldwide.
Take a look at this. This is from Columbus, the State Fair. This is a Christmas Story house scene made completely out of butter.
Life-sized butter sculptures.
One of Ohio's oldest and creamiest traditions is back. The American Dairy Association Mideast unveiled its annual butter cow sculptures at the Ohio State Fair.
The butter display at the Ohio State Fair has been popular for over 100 years, thanks to an amazing blend of tradition and innovation.
We did a giant bottle of chocolate milk. For a centerpiece, we tried mixing a little cocoa powder into the butter. It looked great, and so we went with it, and we even did the label. The year after that, we actually did a Christmas tree in the display, and we had lights on it, and that was also first. And who knows where we'll go next.
I've had the privilege of working for dairy farmers for the last 36 years, and I think back all the years of how dairy farmers invested in that dairy products building and the butter cow and all the featured sculptures and how it's a tremendous attraction to fairgoers coming to the state fair, and then watching the families just be so fascinated. And then as I think back as well as a kid, I remember growing up and going to the Ohio State Fair and seeing the dairy products building. So for me to have the privilege to get to work for the very people who made it happen for 50 years before I ever became a part of this organization, it really resonates with me and it makes me feel very special.
On behalf of Ohio's dairy farm families, we hope you have enjoyed the butter display over the years. And we look forward to sharing the tradition with you next year and for years to come.